And good day to you. I'm Christopher Story indeed. You're listening to the greatest show on earth, what my mother calls the greatest show on earth. Along with me is David Webb, engineering this program back up at the mothership of KGTL AM 620. And don't forget to swap over from time to time to FM 100 and see how we sound there, crystal clear FM. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I want to thank all of our sponsors at the top of the program. Too many to mention, but remind me to remind you from time to time, without them, we're not here. Support your local small businesses because, by golly, they support you every single day. Really appreciate them being here. We've got a really great program today for you. We've got Corbin Arno after the 1 o'clock news and Gus VanDyke. This is the beginning of our candidate forum. We'll talk to both of those young men that are looking for your vote for the next Homer City Council election. So 2 of the 4 candidates running will be on the program today. We'll avail the program to all 4 candidates at some point in the future. Right now, Gus VanDyke and Corbin Arno are on slate for 1 o'clock. Prior to that, I want to talk to you about some news events. I want to talk a little bit about what happened at last night's Homer City Council meeting. I'm disconcerted to a certain extent, and I'm excited at the same time. I have a piece coming out in tomorrow's Homer Tribune talking about how attitudes are more important than facts. Attitudes are more important than facts. And it's a sort of an odd statement to make until you put your mind around it, and you can read all about that tomorrow in the Homer Tribune. But I do illustrate in my piece some of the excitement that I've got about what happened last night. And far be it from me to ignore something that I think is going in a positive direction, no matter where it's coming from. And, a lot of people have said, well, you're just anti-government, Homer City Council or city manager. And it's not at all. It's totally behavior-driven. Behavior and statements and attitude. It's very much about that old saying that I can't hear what you're saying because what you're doing is too loud. And what I heard last night, in effect, was a complete 180 in direction. And I think that you've got to applaud yourself and that you've had a great deal of influence on this current administration, because what happened last night is, again, far be it for me to keep credit from where credit's due, and I will give due credit to the party that I believe deserves it. At the same time, we can't ignore a failed opportunity. Sitting Councilman Brian Zach did attempt to create an ordinance and at least introduce and get the ball rolling towards a public discussion about a commission, a water and sewer rate commission. It was oft talked about during the whole water and sewer debacle. Some have called it task farce, if you will. And that, again, is no slap on the face or on the wrist of the people that participated and took part in the task force, but just that during that whole process, it was discussed that, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe having a water sewer commission is a good idea. Well, what did we hear last night from the Homer City Council? Well, let's give it 6 or so months. That's really easy to say when you're not the one paying the exorbitant fee, the exorbitant amount of money. I say the same thing last year, a year ago, where the tenants were taxed $45 per month here in the beautiful city of Homer, Alaska. $45 a month tenant tax. Well, what were we told then? Well, we're going to put together a task force. Let's just give it a year or so. Well, that's a lot of money. We've demonstrated that on this program many, many times. That's a lot of money. We're talking $4,000 and $5,000 in some cases that people have overpaid. And now some of that's going to be reversed with the most recent passage of a new water rate. But it's time. It's time to really take a close look at having a commission to regulate this and take it away from the knee-jerk task force and the knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, this group is upset, so we'll create, quote-unquote, winners and losers on this side. Enough of that. That was a lost opportunity. But I will expound later on what I felt was so right about last evening's meeting and where the city manager really went right. And I'm still scratching my head. I'm still trying to figure out what's happening. And is this foretelling and foreshadowing what's to come, or is it simply an anomaly and we maybe don't need to expect more of it? I don't know. Right now, I want to pay tribute to somebody. This is going around the internet, so perhaps you've already heard it, and if you have, forgive me, but I couldn't help but share it. In honor of his wife, this 96-year-old man named Fred entered his songwriting contest. Now, Fred's got, this really is the theme of today's program. Attitudes are more important than facts. The facts are Fred's not a songwriter. The facts are and remain this 96-year-old man has no skill, no ability, no talent, no reason whatsoever that he should write a song that would become a hit. And so Fred submitted his entry. He saw this contest as a singer-songwriter contest, and he submitted his entry. Now, it's called Green Shoe Productions, and what they wanted to do was encourage people to actually produce their own song, edit it, put it up on YouTube, and send it to them and enter to win that way. He sent them a manila envelope, and on the back of a piece of paper was written the lyrics to this song that you're about to hear. And while I don't know that he won the contest, what Fred did win was to win the hearts and minds of hundreds of thousands of people, and possibly going on to millions of people before it's over. Before I play the song, I want to let you know Green Shoe Studio did produce it for Fred. They took him under their wing at no charge to Fred. I believe if you purchase the song, some of the proceeds, if not all, will go, in fact, to Fred. You can buy the song on iTunes, but why don't you listen to it for right now? And just in the beginning, you're going to hear somebody react to the opening chords. That's Fred. And this song, again, was written for his 75-year-long wife. When he married his best friend, 75 years later, she passed away, 75 years of marriage, and she passed away literally 1 month before he wrote this.
Oh, sweet Lorraine, I wish we could do all the good times over again. Oh, sweet Lorraine, life only goes around once, but never again. Oh, sweet Lorraine, I wish we could do all the good times over again. The good times, the good times, the good times all over again. The good times, the good times, the good times all over again. But the memories always linger on. Oh, sweet Lorraine, no, I don't wanna move on. Oh, the memories always linger on. Oh, sweet Lorraine, that's why I wrote this song. Oh, sweet Lorraine, I wish.
I'm Chris Story. Stick around for the rest of what my mom calls the greatest show on earth. You're listening to Alaska Matters.
Life only goes around once, but never again. Oh, sweet Lorraine, I wish we could do all the good times over again. The good times, the good times, all the good times all over again.
You're listening to Alaska Matters. I'm Christopher Story, along with Dave Webb, who's engineering this program up at the mothership of KGTL. We are recording this program. If by chance you want to hear it again, no problem. Go to our website, AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. In a moment, you'll have an opportunity to win a Blackwater Bend Espresso coffee card. Best coffee in Alaska voted. 9 out of 10 inmates request coffee for their death row last meal from Blackwater Bend Espresso. That is a fact. That is a fact. See, remember the whole theme is attitude makes triumphs over fact every single time. So that's what I'm going to do. Also, we're going to listen to the second part of Mike Pate's Heartland ride. So we've got the Heartland ride part 1 last week you heard. If you missed it, if you're listening to this and going, wait a minute, what are you talking about part 1? Or part 2, I didn't hear part 1. No problem. AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. It's the first thing that will pop up there, and it's Mike Pate describing the first leg of the journey and how he decided to that he could, in fact, go on a transcontinental bike ride. And today we'll have another segment of, this is probably the third of 4, or the second of 3. It's possibly 4. We don't know. As it as the story unfolds, we'll know whether it's going to be a 3 or 4 part series. But it's exciting. Later in the program, of course, Corbin, Arno running for Homer City Council, and Gus VanDyke also running for Homer City Council will be our guests after the 1 o'clock news. And we'll have a segment called Healthy Living, brought to you by Holistic Chicks Health Coaching and Anchor Point Natural Foods. All right, this is from the mudflats.com, and I don't recommend going to the mudflats.com. This is not an endorsement of that that organization or that blog, if you will, but it's definitely interesting. I found this poll put on by the Hayes Research Group. I don't know anything about Hayes. I don't know anything about the sampling size or how they arrived at these results on this poll, but I thought it would be interesting to discuss some of the results of the poll and then weave that into our Alaskan Mindbender, brought to you by Blackwater Bend Espresso. So here it is. Essentially, they did a poll, an opinion of ballot initiative to prohibit mining in Bristol Bay. Prohibit mining in Bristol Bay. 43% of the respondents, 43.4% of the respondents. Again, I didn't dig deep enough to find out what the sample size was. But whatever it was, whether it's 2 people or 1,000 people, 43.4% said they would be in strong favor of a ballot initiative prohibiting any mining in the Bristol Bay area, to include Pebble Mine. 19.3% said somewhat favorable. Only 5.7 were neutral. 6.9 were strongly opposed. 15% were strongly opposed. 6.9 were somewhat, and then 15% were strongly opposed. Makes me ask you then, let's do an informal Alaskan Matters Mindbender poll. We'll do it right here. The sample size is you. Just text me, yes or no. Do you oppose Pebble Mine? It'll be a little bit different. Do you, yes or no, oppose Pebble Mine? Yes, no. Send me your name and answer to 299-7653. 299-7653. 2 of you are going to be chosen to go to our Blackwater Bend for free. You're going to go out, now, not just a cup of coffee. This is an amazing example of how virtuous we are here on the program and how awesome our sponsors are. They're giving away 2 coffee cards, and all you got to do is text me your yes or no answer and your name, 299-7653. 299-7653. Please welcome back to the program Mr. Michael Pate. Remember, he went on a solo transcontinental bike ride from coast to coast, and here is installment number 2.
So the following spring, I flew down to Eugene, Oregon, and I picked up a bike that I had ordered, made by CoMotion. Their factory is there in Eugene, and I rode from Eugene down to L.A. Again,
was that a couple 300 miles maybe?
It's 1,200 miles.
Oh, 1,200 miles.
1,200 miles.
All right.
And, you go through the Redwoods and Big Sur, and it's pretty challenging country, even though it's not that high, 1,000 feet or so, but you're constantly going up and down. There's nothing flat about the Oregon or California coast. So I got to L.A. and stayed with my brother-in-law for a couple of days and thought, boy, I don't know if I want to do this again. Flew back home, and, memories tend to hold on to the positive and wash out the negative.
Right.
And so I thought I should try a transcontinental ride.
And that's when you thought it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That's when I got to that point.
Huh. And so you go the 1,200 miles, and you probably figure out along the way, okay, these are the things that I need to pack and carry along with me, and you had some concept of what the trek would be like, but surely it had to be completely different than going from Eugene to L.A. from coast to coast. I mean,
in some ways, you had to have more winter gear. Because of when I left. I left too early, and I left Eugene I flew into Eugene on the 12th of April and left that afternoon and rode up to Corvallis, which is only 40 miles. I got to Corvallis and I thought, that, I hadn't been training all winter. I mean, I'm not a fat tire bike guy, and I hate a stationary bike, and so I hadn't ridden all winter long. And I remember in Corvallis sitting in a coffee shop thinking, this could really be a big mistake. But, you get on the bike the next morning and you keep going. And the weather was okay until I hit the Columbia Gorge. I don't know if you've ever been in the Columbia Gorge, but the wind blows constantly. There's a reason why they have thousands of windmills.
And it's like the world capital of windsurfing.
Absolutely, yes. And I did see several fellows doing that. Off the water more than on the water. Yeah, but I rode up through the through the gorge, and you take a left at Umatilla and go into Washington, and then rode up to Sand Point. And besides the fact that it was pretty wet, it wasn't bad. An old friend had drove up from Idaho, Lewis Macklin, and met me in Sand Point. And he rode with me. Well, actually, he drove his pickup, and then he'd ride back for 2 days, and we went down to Kalispell. And then from Kalispell, I went to East Glacier and went up over the Continental Divide to West Glacier.
You're making this sound so easy. At some point, though, you're alone, you're riding how many hours a day?
Well, it would vary. I averaged 80 miles a day. So if I had a tailwind, those 80 miles could be accomplished in 6 hours. If I had a headwind, maybe I didn't make 80 miles that day.
Okay. Was 80 a specific plan? Like, okay, I feel
No.
like I can do it. It just averaged out that way.
It just happened to average out that way.
How often are you stopping to eat, drink? I mean, what's the day like?
You start every morning before daylight, simply because you want to get out on the road and you want to get some miles under you. And you also have a goal for the evening, especially when you ride by yourself. You have to be pretty specific about where you're going to stop for the evening. I wanted to see the sun come up every morning, but you can't be on the road really in the dark. It's simply, it's just not prudent.
Not smart.
Right. The weather will drive a lot of your decisions, and it started to get cold in Sand Point. And it was cold from Sand Point to Minneapolis. Most mornings when I left, it was in the low 20s. And I had to stop in Kalispell and get new winter gear or additional winter gear, simply because the wind and the cold.
But your first 40 miles, you immediately went, what have I done? And now you've just gone through 2-3 different states here in Idaho. At any of those points, are you again thinking, what have I done? Or do you just get into a mental routine and it's about enduring?
You do. Absolutely you do. And I mean, certainly a good part of it is physical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're riding a bike that weighs, probably just under 100 pounds when you have all of your gear and water and food on board. So you're riding a heavy bike. There certainly are hills between the coasts. However, a good deal of it is. I mean, climbing the Continental Divide, for example, it's not a terrible, taxing feat, but it is. You are simply climbing steadily at a very slow speed for a day, and you simply get that mindset that you're going to go uphill now for the next 10 hours, and you'd be surprised if you can handle that mentally. Your body responds, even when it's old and broken down like mine is. An awfully lot of it is mindset.
And there is the second installment of the Heartland Ride with Mike Pate, his solo transcontinental bike ride from coast to coast, from West Coast to the East Coast, proving the point at 66 years of age. Attitude is more important than facts. The fact of the matter is he shouldn't have done it. His attitude made all the difference. Did he fall? When did he fall? And when did he make it to the East Coast? And what was the first thing he did when he got there? And the trials and tribulations, well, you'll just have to stay tuned to Alaska Matters. If you missed that portion or the first episode, no problem. Go to our website, adventurealaskaradio.com, and you can hear the rest of it. We'll be back with more here on Alaska Matters. Welcome back to Alaska Matters. I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. Miley Cyrus, boy, she's gaining the miles, right? But at what cost? If it was attention Miley was looking for, well, you could admit she got it and she succeeded. I don't know, though. I thought, I wanted to talk to my daughter, Zoe, because Zoe's a peer educator. And I thought, I wonder what Zoe would say about this. Well, I didn't have to wonder for long. I wasn't able to arrange her on the program, but I decided to set up a point-counterpoint about the Miley Cyrus debacle at the VMA, the Video Music Awards, for those of you over 25. And so Miley Cyrus, as you no doubt have heard on multiple news outlets, online, radio, television, it's everywhere. I think 300,000 tweets a minute or something was going out about this. And so I wanted to read to you what Zoe Story, my daughter, 17 years old, had to write as a woman and as a peer health educator. And then I thought we would bring in our pop culture expert to weigh in on this as well. He'll be here in a minute. He's getting set up in the green room. But first, let me read to you what Zoe wrote on her social media platform. She said, "Women did not fight the government and the people so we could act like animals on stage. We did not have women's suffrage so we could embarrass ourselves in a teddy bear costume while thousands of little girls are excited to watch Hannah Montana's new performance. Young girls becoming women in today's society need to remember that it's not sexy. Wearing almost absolutely nothing is not sexy. Knowing yourself as a woman and what you're worth is sexy. Intelligence is sexy. Standing up for what you believe in. Keep it classy, ladies. Keep it sexy. That was from Zoe's story. I appreciated that. 17-year-old woman weighing in on it. And then I thought, what would our pop culture expert have to say in this point counterpoint? Please help me welcome Bill Clinton. Hey, Chris. I did watch that video with that woman, Miss Miley Cyrus. I watched it over and over and over again. And let me tell you something. I'll continue to watch that video until I uncover the problem. In fact, I wonder if Miley needs an intern. You think she'd hire me, Chris? Yes, Bill, you and Miley Cyrus are two ends of the same stick. Two examples of what can only be described as cultural and moral decay. So I think point counterpoint goes to Zoe's story in this case, a 17-year-old youth educator who knew better than our own president what is acceptable and what is not. That little episode notwithstanding, please stick around because we've got Corbin Arno coming up after the news. He'll be answering some questions about where he's from and where he'd like to see Homer go. Gus VanDyke, same thing. Both of these guys running for Homer City Council. Remember, there's four people running for 2 seats. Gus VanDyke and Corbin Arno, the first to kick off our candidate forum. We'll invite the other two gentlemen, which are Brian Zach and Justin Arnold, also running. When we come back to, we'll have our Healthy Living segment with Ashley Gregoire, your holistic chick, brought to you by Anchor Point Natural Foods. And, I don't know. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but why don't we just leave on this note? Again, 96-year-old Fred wrote this song for his wife of 75 years. Hey, don't go anywhere. We've got the greatest show on earth coming up here on Alaska Matters.
Wish we could do all the good times over again, oh sweet Lorraine. Life only goes around once, but never again, oh sweet Lorraine. I wish we could do all the good times over again, the good times, the good times, the good times, all over again. The good times, the good times, the good times, all over again. But the memories always linger on, oh sweet Lorraine. No, I don't wanna move on. Oh, the memories always linger on, oh sweet Lorraine. That's why I wrote this song.
You're listening to Alaska Matters. In fact, I'm Christopher Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. David Webb is the engineer and producer of the program back up at the mothership of KGTL. Our website is adventurealaskaradio.com. adventurealaskaradio.com. Corbin Arno will be our first guest up this half hour. He is running for Homer City Council. While he and I are talking, if there's any questions you would like him to answer, feel free to text them right now. 299-7653 is my number to text. 299-7653. 299-7653. Any questions for either candidate, Corbin Arno or Gus VanDyke? This in the first of our series of candidate forums. You'll have an opportunity to ask them whatever you'd like. Otherwise, you're going to leave it to me. I think you'll like what I've got to ask them, but nevertheless, I want you to have an opportunity to weigh in. 299-7653. Any questions you want, text them now. Also, we've got our Blackwater Bend Espresso Mind Bender poll out there. Are you yes or no in favor of Pebble Mine? Yes or no in favor of Pebble Mine? Send your answer now, 299-7653. Name an answer. And how did I ask the question? Because I need to repeat the question exactly. I don't want to confuse anybody. Here we go. Do you oppose Pebble Mine? Sorry about that. Do you oppose Pebble Mine? Yes or no? Send your name and answer to 299-7653. Remember, this is a Mudflats Haze Research Group did a poll, and the Mudflats reported it, gleefully. And I just wondered, how does that represent my Alaska Matters listeners? Do you oppose Pebble Mine? Yes or no? 299-7653. Real quick, out of the Alaska Dispatch, they report about a Canadian government expenditure of over $600,000 developing a silent snow machine. A silent snow machine. Now, it's electric, got a large battery, so it's an electric snow machine. They're testing this now in the Arctic and the northern regions of Canada, and it's just being developed by the government, by the military. Whether it flies or goes on the sea or anywhere else, if it's quieter, it's advantageous to any military, said the Defense Research Department Chair Noel Payne. And I thought, that's just odd. I know $1 million for a big government like the Canadian government or the federal government of the United States of America. It's a drop $1 million practically is, it's practically nothing. Homer City Hall, almost, come on, we don't even blink at $1 million anymore. But I got to thinking, why? Why develop an electric snow machine? And it dawned on me. They're saying, well, silence. Silence is important. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what the Canadians are defending themselves against. I honestly don't know. I didn't know they had a military. I don't even know what they do with their Canadian military. No offense to our Canuck neighbors, but I just don't know. I have a theory, and I'll proffer it now. The theory is environmentalism. That they're spending all this money, government money, to create a environmentally friendly snow machine. That's exactly what it is. Why else would you need a silent sled? Come on. It just doesn't even make sense. But without further ado, please help me welcome our first guest. He is Mr. Corbin Arno, lifelong Homeroid, and he would like your vote for Homer City Council. Corbin, thank you for being part of the program, and welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here, Chris.
So you and I both grew up in Homer. We're of a different age group, different generation, but nevertheless, we're close enough. I know you grew up here. Let me ask you a question. Why did you stay and choose to raise your family in Homer, Alaska?
Well, I'm born and raised here, like you said, and this is, I believe, the most wonderful place on earth here. It's small. We have mountains, the ocean. Everything's here that a kid could want, at least when I was growing up as a kid, and it's just a wonderful town and a wonderful place to raise your kids.
How old are your kids, anyway?
I've got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Nice. You cover all the gamuts of the age range. They're a lot of fun. By the way, I love in the background that we can hear the backup beeping alarm of equipment working. You're a working guy, and that brings me to my next question. You come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and your family's been around a long time, been self-employed, waking up unemployed every day, and I just wonder how that might impact your approach to local government.
Well, I see a lot of government rules and regulations that limit the ability of any entrepreneurs. I don't see them looking for ways to help people grow their business. It's more limiting, more taxing. The price of everything's going up because taxes go up on everything else. It's a lot of common sense involved in it. You cut taxes and more people spend money.
Well, wait a minute. Do you really think that it's common sense? Because I had a conversation with a friend over the weekend, and they had, I put up one of your signs, I'll admit, on my fence. And so I'm happy to be supporting you and happy to endorse you. So that aside, I was, I guess, ipso facto campaigning for you. And somebody said to me, well, does being in business hinder your ability to govern? Does being in private business for yourself, do you bring the experience that's really needed in a political arena, like even the Homer City Council? And you say?
Well, it gives you a good insight into the workings of business, what helps the business grow, what detours a business from growing. More regulations makes it harder to do your job. Less regulations makes it easier. People aren't out there trying to destroy the environment. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world is Alaska, and I've never talked to anyone that says, I don't care about the environment here. Do whatever, destroy things. It's a lot of common sense there too. You take care of your land, and it's going to be there for your kids and your grandkids.
I didn't mean to step on you there, but there's been a lot of talk about ballot initiatives, and one of them being the non-prepared foods tax. Well, you said it. You said that if you leave more money in people's pockets, they're going to spend it. You've got more growth and opportunity for everybody. That's been my contention about the non-prepared foods tax and allowing the people to vote and allowing the initiative process to go forward. We repeal the non-prepared foods tax the first time, then a second time, and then up comes two ordinances from two different council people that would have either eliminated altogether or partially eliminated that holiday on non-prepared foods tax. And so let me just segue into my next question then, which is, if an initiative is passed, it goes through the process to get an initiative on the ballot, a ballot measure goes to the people vote for it and support something that in a majority, and you may not like it, Corbin, you may not like all ballot initiatives, but if it passes, will you honor the will and wishes of the people, or will you create ordinances that would obviate the vote of the people?
Absolutely. I think one of the problems with the city council right now is they're not listening to the people, and that's one of my biggest problems with them. And that's why I make an initiative to step up and do something about it and run for city council, is because they have lost touch with the will of the people. Government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I just don't see that in our local government all the way to the federal government.
Yeah, I've been promoting that for a while, Corbin, that you can make a difference right in your own backyard. And so many of us want to complain and watch the national news, listen to and read the national news, and sort of just throw our fists in the air and yell about it. But I have to admire you and everybody else that is running and just say, bravo, and thank you very much for stepping up. Because if we don't take action in our own backyard, how can we have any impact on a national or statewide or even borough process? So one final question for you. It's been bandied around quite a bit. In fact, one of our assemblymen has gone before the Homer City Council a couple of different times to explain that if the $50,000 exemption passes on this next go-around on this ballot initiative, if it passes and your primary residence, you're able to exempt up to $50,000 from taxation, property taxes, he's suggesting, well, we're just going to have to raise taxes elsewhere, be it the mill rate or some other way to raise more money. My question is, naturally, would you first look at cutting the budget?
Absolutely. You give government money, and the next year they want more. And you can only tax people so much. You got to start cutting here, cutting there. The government doesn't need to grow. It needs to tighten its belt just like everybody else does. If you don't have the money, don't spend it.
I like that. That could be a bumper sticker. If you don't have the money, don't spend it. And that goes around a lot. That could be personal, government, and all the way around. So that could go around the world. Well, Corbin, Arno, any final statements you want to throw out there?
Well, I'm looking to run for city council. I want Homer to be a prosperous town, and I want it to be affordable. I want prosperity for everyone and be an affordable place to live. It's expensive to live in Alaska, but we'll do what we can to make it affordable for everyone.
I like that. Prosperity and affordability in one package. That's Corbin Arno. Corbin, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to work now.
Thank you, Chris. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's Corbin Arno running for Homer City Council. Gus VanDyke is next up on the roster, so don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on Alaska Matters. Welcome back to Alaska Matters. I'm Christopher Story, having entirely too much fun. Gus VanDyke is up next on the candidate forum roster here at Alaska Matters. Got a question for Gus? Send it now, 299-7653, 299-7653. Hello, Gus, and welcome to Alaska Matters.
Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
Doing great. I love pulling you guys off the job. First Corbin, now you, pulling you away from your work. You are, after all, small business people, and I very much appreciate that. Gus, tell me a little bit about yourself. When did you discover Alaska, or did it discover you?
I discovered Alaska in 1992. My wife and I decided to vacation, and we vacationed in Alaska, fell in love with it, got back from vacation, quit our jobs, and moved.
Where were you coming from?
We were coming from outside the Portland, Oregon area.
Oh, okay. All right. A lot of people do that. A lot of people discover Alaska, but you didn't discover Homer first, right? I mean, it was a series of events that landed you here in Homer?
That is correct. We ultimately ended up in Anchorage because that's where, the jobs were at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And within, I think it took me 4 years to decide that when I came over top the hill at and looked at Kachemak Bay, I said, I know where I'm going to live, and I'm going to find a way to do it.
Nice. I like that. Well, and it's been said of late that Homer specifically, but I think Corbin just mentioned it, but Homer specifically by our town officials has been referred to as an expensive place to live. Sorry, you just get used to it. Well, what do you think when you hear that? I mean, you said it yourself. You went to Anchorage, followed the jobs, and then eventually made a way for yourself to come to Homer and live here. Well, what do you think the secret is? I mean, is there a way for local government to impact our lives such that we can make it a more affordable place?
Oh, there are multiple ways that I'm sure that the government can do it. I mean, they can under-regulate us as opposed to over-regulate us. They can, tighten belts in places that, that they don't because they've never had the need to before, because they've always just gone right back to the people and said, well, if we need money, we're going to tax something else and get more money and pay for what we want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that there's ways to do it, and as a businessman, I don't particularly care for that kind of thinking. I think we should, get in there and use the money that you get and use it wisely and use it efficiently.
I agree, and we were just discussing this idea of a $50,000 exemption, that if it passes, it'll be on the ballot on October 1. If it passes, it would allow you, the homeowner, to exempt up to $50,000 of that assessed value from your taxes on your primary residence. So not commercial, not rental property, but just your primary residence. And so it benefits the people that do live here year-round and pay a high price to do so. My question would be then to you, let me ask you the same question that I asked Corbin. If that passes, an assemblyman has come before the Homer City Council and said, well, we're just going to have to raise taxes elsewhere if that passes. And I ask you, would you look first to tightening the budget, making cuts, and trying to live within the taxes that are already coming in?
Absolutely. If we're going to make it a better place for us to live at less cost, we've got to look at tightening belts first. You can't just sit there and have, I call it a governmental attitude where we'll find the money someplace, we'll find something else to tax, and we'll make it up in another area.
One thing that's been on my mind a lot is the initiative process in general. So you've got, term limits, that'll be up again. We talked about the $50,000 exemption. Term limits has already once gone through the real initiative process. Right now it's being shoved down our throats, but the real initiative process, and the Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly has decided to ignore that, or a majority of them have, not to include Charlie Pierce, but others have decided to ignore it. And we've got the non-prepared foods tax abatement. We've been able to avoid that and have that holiday during the winter season. Let me ask you, just cut to the chase. If an initiative passes via a majority of the people, via a vote of the majority of the people, even if, Gus VanDyke, it's something you don't like, maybe it's an initiative that you're not in favor of, but it passes, would you honor the will and the wishes of the people, or would you create new laws and legislation and ordinances that would make that null and void?
If the majority of the people say this is the way it should be done, then that's the wish of the people. I mean, the people are, we work for them; they don't work for us.
I like that. I think that's public service, isn't it, Gus? I mean, that's the idea, is that you're there to serve at the pleasure of the people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if I can't do the bidding of the people, if the majority of people say that they want lower taxes, then it's my job, if I get elected, to find a way to do that and to work hard to make it happen if I can.
All right. Well, you're a small business owner. I know what that means. You've got a lot to do today, but I guess what I would do is just encourage people to reach out and support you. If they're interested in supporting you, they can contact you directly. They can also contact me and get your guys' contact information directly. But just a final statement, Gus, if you would, just as to, if you just had an opportunity, a 30-second elevator ride to convince somebody to vote for you, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that, I'm not a politician. I'm not a public speaker. I don't want to be either. I'm just a businessman who'll bring his business principles to an area that I don't think has a whole lot of it right now.
Enough said. I like it. Thank you very much, Gus VanDyke. Now get back to work and make somebody's car run better.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you being part of the program and really appreciate these guys stepping up. As I said, this is the first installment of our candidate forum. We've just talked with Gus VanDyke, running for Homer City Council. Prior to that, we spoke with Corbin Arno, both looking for your vote for Homer City Council. We'll next talk next week with the two other candidates, Justin Arnold and Brian Zach. If I can get in touch with them and set it up, I'll bring them here to you, and we'll ask them questions as well and see what we can do about shedding light on some of these subjects. And don't forget, whatever you do, we've got the bag ban petition coming up on October 1 as well. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Even if you could be the furthest left of anybody you know, you could be the most environmentally conscious and aware. You maybe wear nothing but hemp, not even just hemp, but recycled hemp. That's all you wear, and you eat granola, and you walk. You just walk and ride your bike. You don't even use a car. You won't even consider getting on a jet plane because it uses diesel. It uses airplane jet fuel, and I still want you to vote against. I want you to vote for the repeal. I want you to vote against the bag ban because it's your rights that we're really voting about. It's your rights. It's not about the bag. It's not about the litter. And you know it, I know it, and they know it. We'll be back with more here on Alaska Matters. Welcome back to Alaska Matters. Well, I talked about the Homer City Council and what they did wrong last night. As far as I'm concerned, they missed a huge opportunity to go ahead and appoint a water and sewer not a task force, but a commission, a standing commission. I think we've just got too many variables there. The rates are roughly, don't jump down my throat if it's not exactly, but roughly 3 times that of Soldotna. That's wrong. There's something wrong there. I think there's too many holes, pun intended, and I think money's leaking out. And I think we need to figure out where it's going, into what aspects of the budget. I'm not making any accusations, but I am saying it's going to take, I would say, a disinterested third party. And when you take 2 or 3 people off of the council, put them on a task force, it's not disinterested. It's not that they did anything wrong. You need a disinterested third party. And be it an outside audit, a forensic audit of the budget and of the enterprise fund, or be it a standing commission of those made up of non-council people. It should not be the council and the mayor that sit on this task force. Sorry, that's just the way I feel about it. And I think that was a missed opportunity, not even have the discussion and just shoot it right down without any further discussion, because they know better. They know better than you do. So just shut up and pay the high bills for the next 6 months. And maybe if then we'll do something different and look at this. But for now, just shut up, eat your pablum, and just let us tell you what is best for you. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Where do I think they went right? Well, you'll read more about it tomorrow in the Homer Tribune. The article is to do with attitudes more important than fact. And that's absolutely true. I think we've been proving that throughout the program today, be it the Pate Heartland ride or Corbin Arno and Gus VanDyke. The facts are they're not politicians. Their attitude is, however, one of service, one of an open, grateful heart, and they want your vote and they want an opportunity to make a difference. And I say you give it to them. But that's that aside, where did the city council go right last night? Well, they stood behind, they got in line behind city manager Walt Reedy and said, you know what? Your ordinance, Walt, that you introduced to allow, and this is paraphrasing, but to allow a non-conforming use to exist beyond the life of the owner. Let's say, for example, that you had a property with an approved non-conforming use. Something, God forbid, happened to you. Your heirs in a state, your heirs and assigns or nominees, whoever's taking over the property, doesn't continue that use for a period of time. It lapses. You've just lost your non-conforming use status, or your property has. You're gone. And that's not right. That's not compassionate. That's not community. That's not what I think the intent is behind the law. But nevertheless, city manager Walt Reedy stepped up and said, you know what? I'm going to draft an ordinance to put in front of you. And the council supported it 100%, at least the 5 that were there. So they supported it. Councilman Burgess was absent, but they did support it. And my question is, are we seeing a change of tide towards a willingness to work with business owners, willingness to work with property owners, willingness to look at prosperity versus regulation, versus restrictions, versus, hey, you know what, the facts are the facts, there's nothing we can do about it. And I think Senor Reedy last night probably proved, oh, by God, there is something you can do about it. So read all about it tomorrow in the Homer Tribune. Attitude more important than facts. This portion of the program brought to you by Healthy Living with Ashley Gregoire, your holistic chick, and also Anchor Point Natural Foods.
The healthy eating tip of the day is surround yourself with foods as delicious as they are nutritious. Eating healthy should not be about denial and discipline. And in fact, when done right, healthy is the most fun, delicious, and satisfying way to eat. People always laugh at me when I check out at the grocery store with like 10 pounds of bananas, and that's probably not even an exaggeration. But surrounding myself and my kids with these healthy, delicious foods is one of the ways that we stay so happy and contented on this lifestyle. Remember, eating healthy should be a fun lifestyle full of joy and abundance, and most importantly, it needs to be sustainable if it's going to last. For more information on positive healthy living, visit my website at holisticchickblog.com and be sure to check out Anchor Point Natural Foods.
Thank you, Ashley. And do check out Anchor Point Natural Foods on the Sterling Highway. They're next to the Fly Box. That's where we pick up our farm fresh eggs and local vegetables. And remember, we've had the conversation about vegetables versus vegetables and all your health supplements and products you're looking for. You want to make a difference in your life and your community? Shop at the Anchor Point Natural Foods. So Ashley Story / Gregoire will bring you a healthy living tip next week. That's about, what is it about? I forget what it's about, but I heard it already, and I'm excited to hear it again. You're going to like it too. So for more information, you can always visit our website, adventurealaskaradio.com. All right, the winners of our Alaskan Mindbender Blackwater Bend Espresso coffee cards are going to Jason and Jeremiah. Jason and Jeremiah. Interestingly enough, our random winners were opposing each other. One was in favor of digging Bevel, the other against it. But I have to tell you, out of the 23 people that entered to win, 22 said dig. Only one person said no. Everybody else said dig it, baby. I'll paraphrase Sarah Palin, dig, baby, dig. Now, we did a program once before, and it was all about me trying to make up my mind about, I don't know, am I for Pebble or anti-Pebble? I really didn't have enough information. And it was interesting because all of the callers at that point in time, well, I shouldn't say all, 50-50. It went 50-50. 50% of you were for digging, 50% were against it. And everybody had their own reason and their own interesting perspective on it. So anyway, it's, hang on a second. I may have... intensely, no opposed. I may have misrepresented this. Okay, I got to do the math over again. 21 in favor of digging, 2 against. Just got another text. Somebody's opposed to it, immensely opposed to it. So I mischaracterized that. 21 to dig and 2 opposed. It's an interesting topic. I don't think any of us knows enough yet about the project, but what I do not like, and people argue with this all the time, is I don't like that it's not an American company. I don't like that it's not an Alaskan company, or at a minimum, an American company. That bothers me. That bothers me greatly. I don't understand how we let that slip through our fingers. I know the jobs, but I'd much prefer that it was an American company we're talking about versus foreign owned. But that's a discussion for another time. There's so much to talk about. The family that barely avoided a bear, pun intended. God, I had so much. There's another story about a book coming out about Sildovia and a rescue. Hey, the heroes of Kenai. I want to at least say his name. Eric Wilcox, Fire Marshal Eric Wilcox, saved 2 people's lives. He's a hero, fireman and a hero, as are you. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Remember, next week we'll interview a couple more candidates on our Homer City Council Candidate Forum. We'll also bring you a 3rd installment of the Heartland Ride with Mike Pate. And as per usual, I'll bring you senseless humor. And I have a sense of humor, I think, but not everybody gets it. Get out there in the great land and enjoy your own backyard. I'm Chris Story.
Oh, sweet Lorraine, I wish we could do all the good times over again. Oh, sweet Lorraine, life only goes around once, but never again. Oh, sweet Lorraine, I wish we could do all the good times over again. The good times, the good times, the good times all over again. The good times, the good times, the good times all the good times.